In your understanding, Michael, what is marketing operations?
How would I describe
Do you
it?
know?
Yeah, I'd say marketing operations is yeah, I think it's the arm of the marketing that keeps everything moving forward. It's responsible for systems, processes, um, making sure that all the teams that are playing offense, if you like, are able to do it to the best of their ability.
Hmm.
So making things as efficient as possible for everybody in marketing.
Hmm. Yeah, and a lot of it is about tools and automations, like a
Yeah,
lot of it, and using data. It's very data-driven people
right.
that have access to the data, and they're like the glue of the market departments, where that's what they can use. The data is what they can use to enable everybody else. From
Right.
my experience, do you now in your current position, do you work with marketing operations people? Is there someone you talk to at least occasionally?
Yeah, and I guess how would you like me to answer these questions? Would you like me to talk on specifics or more generally or?
For me, the more specifics, the better. Whatever you're
Oh, okay, that
comfortable
works
with.
for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather, yeah, speak really specifically. Yeah. So, in our, and you want me to talk as if you have no assumed knowledge of what we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yeah. So for the way our team is structured, so just for everybody that's listening and for your quotes, so I work for a program that's part of Semrush, one of our own media assets in Backlinko and Traffic Think Tank. And within that, it's got quite a unique structure because we're under the umbrella of Semrush, and there's multiple own media assets and programs and different websites that operate underneath that. And we all have our own teams, but we also share some resources between us, whether it's writers or content operations, SOPs, and things of that nature. So naturally, I interact with my immediate team. I'm the managing editor for our program for Traffic Think Tank and Backlinko. And with that, I will work with our project manager, who is basically responsible for keeping the glue and everything together and making sure everything runs smoothly, from managing invoices to building out automations for our project management software for our content production, from helping me develop SOPs and recruitment funnels and all of that fun stuff. But we've also got shared resources from the broader Semrush team that support the project manager and that we have direct access to as well. If we want to share recruitment, like we want to share our recruitment pipeline or team members or processes and procedures as well. So it's a bit of a unique setup where we're working with a broader team and our own team.
Hmm. Hmm. And so one of the teams you work with will also be a marketing operations team or a professional?
That's correct. So within the broader Semrush team, we will have, like, I guess you would say, a marketing operations team that's part of the organic search program in Semrush. So that's like a marketing operations person specifically. I don't know his official title. And then you've also got administrative support as well, in addition to our project manager.
Mm-hmm. So uh, how many people report to you today, by the way, when you're the managing editor? How many editors and writers are there?
Uh, at the moment, we have four writers and four editors, so that's eight in total. But we're about to onboard another five writers.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So
Yeah.
that's quite a good amount for a content team. Now, uh, when you work with someone in marketing operations or analytics, what have you been able to do together that helped you in your work and getting better content out there, more content out there?
Yeah. I think the first thing is looking at the tooling, the tools that we use for content production. So it's the project management software, which we were previously using Notion. And Notion was fantastic for developing resources for our team, whether that was embedding Loom videos for training, whether that was just really simple databases to track from start to finish, when we first think of a content, like an article idea, all the way through to being published, and all the touch points in between. And our project manager was basically responsible for moving all of that along. So making sure that writers, editors are working together, they know exactly where they're up to, where design comes in, and if they need any developmental support, and of course when I need to come in for final review. However, what we're finding is that it was requiring a lot of manual work. So this is a prime example of when I guess editorial and operations will need to come together, because although this is quite operationally intensive to think about how we can automate our production, you know, I guess I do think that way in systems and processes as well. So I'm often collaborate with our project manager for how we approach that moving forward. So we migrated over to Monday.com. That's the model that the broader Semrush team was using. And, you know, by migrating over to Semrush, to Monday.com, we're able to build a lot more automations and allow a project manager to be a lot more hands-off for each stage of production. But we collaborated together to build out all the different status updates. It got a lot more granular, especially when it comes to the editing part. We like to try and edit posts in 2 revision rounds, but quite often it might take up to 4. So we need to account for that in the various stages of our production and make sure all the automations are firing as they need to. And that's a specific part where we collaborated quite closely. And then on top of that, we've got different types of content. So whenever, you know, for example, we wanted to lean more heavily into AI assisted content. So to do that, that's got a completely different path to how we would treat this new content written by a writer, where AI assisted content is actually where we start off with AI output and we edit that, and the editor takes it end to end. So I worked with the project manager to make sure that that was tagged appropriately and had its own production cycle that was separate to our new production. We do a lot of upgrades and optimizations, which is again another slightly different process to our new content and AI assisted articles. It's very editor heavy. So we have to collaborate on that to see what it looks like from start to finish. So these are just a couple of many examples of how we collaborate together. If I can go one more, the biggest part that we collaborated on more recently, which was with our project manager, but also with our SEO manager, our growth manager, and another senior editor, was in our recruitment pipeline. So another bit of tooling and another huge pain point, the bottleneck that we had in our team, any content team, any team in general, is recruitment, finding talent that can deliver to the standards that we want. Is we were trying to hire writers individually. So we would try and screen them based on their portfolio and their performance. Maybe they come from another program within Semrush. And, you know, out of about 20 trials in 2024, we were only able to hire 1 writer. So it was clear that we needed a lot more velocity. We needed to reach a lot more people in the market. And we looked at tools. So again, this was a collaborative effort across operations and editorial and growth to look at tools to see what would be suitable to run our HR or application tracking. Is that what they call them? ATS, application tracking system. So we tried a few tools out in the market, but then realized that they had their own limitations. For example, some tools wouldn't allow you to update the job description after you published it and things like that. Some of the tools are too expensive or not necessary for a really small content team, right? We aren't a HR department. So our project manager and our ops team looked at building something in-house on Monday.com again, using what we already have. So this was a prime collaboration of building out a big recruitment SOP, what our job description will look like, what the funnel looks like at each stage, reporting and dashboards, automations, you know, how the form works. And that was a really successful initiative of attracting over 350 applications and, you know, getting 5 writers out of that. So achieved that goal. So that was another huge initiative where we had to collaborate on.
Nice. We're doing on time, by the way, Michael. Do you have a sharp stop, or can it go 5 minutes longer or 10?
Yeah, we can keep rolling. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the first half of our time so far. So that sounds really good. You mentioned production and you mentioned recruitment. What about measurement and reporting on performance? Because you're doing measurement and reporting on how much you produce, from what it sounds like, and from when we work together, even though that sounds like a past life for me right
Yes,
now,
yes, yes.
but and like a different century or something. Um, but what about after the content goes out? Because you are also involved, or you have been at least, in the research phase for, when you're getting, collecting insight or talking to experts about their own experiences that they can share in an article. Um, so I see potential for use of data on two ends. One is measurement, one is research. I'll get back to the research part
Yeah.
later. What about for measurement, reporting, attribution? Do you talk to an analytics person? You're pretty high up in the team, right? You make a lot of decisions about what gets produced and how.
Hmm.
So, do you talk to an analytics person about how it gets measured, or what events on the website measured, or how you assume people become paying user? Or is there some, maybe I'll simplify the question first, then I'll ask the details. Is there some communication with people who set up your analytics for your content?
Yeah, a lot of the performance-based analytics is filtered to our head of SEO. And so who he reports to and the team that he works with, as a deeper relationship in Semrush, is the reporting that he gets and he filters out to us and the team. So what we measure and what we define as success is the amount of attributed signups or trials that we send through to Semrush. So that's something that we have better attribution for. It's still a work in progress for a lot of content teams that can relate. But it's something, a number that we can track on a quarterly basis and that we report on. So that's the big number that we look
And
at.
so the work in progress is for the content team to use the attribution data more, or what is the work in progress?
Yeah, well, the work in progress is ensuring that it's accurate. So I don't know the specific details in terms of how they're tracking or attributing the signups. But I think we've got it to a place now that where we can trust the data, and that we can reliably report on it. But
That was
I guess,
when roughly, like, how long into your position at Semrush did you get to that point where you feel like you can trust the data?
yeah, I'd say so. I started in November 2023. When did you leave?
June, summer 2024.
Yeah, okay. So I'd say it would be around, well, it was probably a couple of months after that
Uh-huh.
where we started to be able to, yeah, get that data. Like, yeah, and that Lee would be able to share it with us, and it's something that we could, I guess, rely on.
So about a year, close to a year,
About a year,
uh,
yes,
when you started at least. So
yes,
your start also marks the beginning of true production of a true team. You're one of the
yep,
first employees that were systematizing everything. So maybe a year into that is when the attribution became more reliable. And so,
yes.
do you think Lee has a say on how the measurement happens, or how the attribution model works, or is he
Um,
more on the receiving end? Do you
I think
know?
he's, from my understanding, I think he's more on the receiving end. I think he would make his case, like we all do in our teams and reporting, um, about, I guess, the most effective way to record it and the most beneficial way that it looks for us. But yeah, from my understanding, it's pretty. I don't know the details of how they build the analytics for the attribution. So I think, yeah, that might be a good question to ask him, or if he can share.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it gets murky with attribution.
right.
Um,
As you know, right.
mm,
But I guess from an analytics standpoint, like when I look at operations, you know what? Like I think performance is really important to touch on. Obviously, it matters. It's what keeps everybody paid. It's what keeps everybody, with the program growing and all that good stuff, as you used to say. But I think, for me, the where I really pay attention that becomes more operational is, I guess, time spent in production. So in terms of analytics and working with operations, I'm really interested in how long everything takes, and the correlation that it has with our standards as well, because that informs how we recruit, that informs how we forecast, that informs a lot of, I guess, the inputs into some of the things you're talking about with the performance metrics.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas or needs there for how you could automate things more or create more systems, also in collaboration with other teams, or maybe using systems that could also be used in other teams? I'm trying to get into ideas for marketing operations people and how they could help boost the content production in their company.
You talk about like efficiencies?
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause you just mentioned that, you're interested, for instance, in the time used, the time that something took. Um,
Yes.
so, and you've mentioned before how you were able to systematize things through Monday by using what other team has used, or at least
Yes.
getting in sync, where you also set up some automations and systems, and they did the other ones. So, for instance, in time use or in anything else that would help you do your work better, do more of it while keeping up the quality. Are there any ideas you've had that haven't been acted on yet, or ideas you would have for other companies in terms of what can be automated or systematized better
Yeah. You know what?
with the help of
I
someone from
think
marketing operations?
my methods are painfully manual, I guess, with some of this stuff. So I think I'll throw it out there. Maybe we can work some ideas of maybe how it could be automated. But for example, one of the first things that um, I thought was really important to understand is what is the cost of content, right? So if you look at, just a standard 3,000 word article where there's could be up to 30 to 40 images and design and everything like that, what's the cost? The cost is really important to understand, not just for budgeting reasons and forecasting, but also to understand for performance and quality control. So, for example, if a writer is charging quite a high rate, but that doesn't correlate with them, I guess, having fewer revision rounds, then is that a worthwhile investment to continue that relationship? If an editor is spending 10 hours on average, whilst the other editors are spending 7 hours on average, then maybe there's a performance issue that we need to look into as well. So it starts off with first understanding, okay, yes, in Monday, we can see that a particular piece of content took X amount of days, average might land up being 60 days. It could blow out to 70 days if we had SME input and we're waiting on responses. That's good to know, but it's also about tracking the number of revision rounds, right? Because there's a lot of other factors that could influence how long something takes. But I like to look at the number of revision rounds, because the less revision rounds means that we're all getting closer to spec sooner, right? It means the first draft is at a better quality. It means that our resources and our editorial guidelines are better. It means that our recruitment is better. On top of that, back to editors, all our editors are required to log what we call editor pace, which just means that they record their hours in a spreadsheet for any upgrade. So if we're updating content, which we might update content multiple times a year to keep it fresh. So we want to understand roughly how long that takes on average. Again, it allows us to forecast better, and it holds editors accountable. They can see how things are going. All the editors can see this as well. So it's very transparent. So you can see how long edits are taking you compared to another. You can see how long an edit's taken you for this particular writer compared to another writer. You can see how this particular topic is taken longer. So all the data is transparent and it's there. However, it's not automated, but it's incredibly useful. On top of that, we've got a content cost tracker, which is a big spreadsheet that then tracks basically every stage of production from briefing, right? We assign a budget for briefing. From SEO, we assign a budget for writing, we assign a budget for editing, actuals, not forecast, actuals. We even see the word overage. Okay, so if articles predicted or said in the brief it should have been 2,500 and we went up to 3,500, right? So we found that one writer was charging a really, really high rate, was also 50% over word count average, all the time. And lots of revision rounds. Not a really good situation that we could hone in on. So we know how much design costs. We know everything. So now we've got this data to go, okay, this is how much content costs. This is how long it's taking. These are the revision rounds, and this is how we can optimize our production more.
Nice.